Hey, uh, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. We had 150 rockets last night from Hezbollah and a small amount from Iran. What a night. And we're on the 12th of March. It's about 7:59, 8 o'clock in the morning. And our weather's probably going to be pretty good today. Let's see, it's 60 degrees. It'll go to 74. And the forecast is clear, sunny skies with plenty of missiles and drones. We're still looking at a few more days of rain. I don't know. I wish it wouldn't happen, but I think Jehovah wants it to. So that's what we're going to have, and we're going to be freezing cold again. This is a very warm sweatshirt I use. It's got this fleece in there. It's a cheapie from Amazon, but it's good. And I wear this. I mean, it's cold. I got a heater next to me here. So while you're hearing nice temperatures, it ain't nice. The houses are freezing. Okay. Gets cold at night. It cools your house off. It's horrible. All right, enough of my bickering. Today there's so much news. I'm going to put prophecy in more, so I'm going to put spiritual warfare in as teaching. And I'm going to, I don't even know where to start. I mean, the big news is the FBI, which is probably a relatively credible source in this circumstance, is warning the people in California of Iranian drone attacks. And I'll break that down to you and I'll explain to you how Iran can do this, the different ways, and I will tell you what you can do about it, which is like next to nothing in America because you don't have any bomb shelters. And if you hide yourself in the closet, you're kidding yourself. Going under a bed or using a mattress, you're kidding yourself. These drones come in various sizes, but generally they're going to blow the room of a house out. If it goes into a window, a small drone will blow the window out of the house. A substantial drone will make destruction on the floor above, the floor down, and go through a couple of rooms of the house. It's not something you should be taking lightly. You can shoot drones down, and I'll discuss that with you. Okay. Now, you probably will have Air Force you'll have Air Force helicopters or Army helicopters, Apaches likely, hunting these drones with 2 3/4 inch rockets and their guns. And yeah, they bring them down. I mean, in Israel, they bring them down. And you could also shoot them with anti-aircraft missiles. So you'll be hearing plenty of planes overhead, fast moving too. I don't even know if they have sirens in California. I don't have any idea. Where are you going to go? They blow the siren. What are you going to do? Pray, but how many people in California are going to pray, What if you went into your swimming pool with an air tank and sat at the bottom of the pool 10 feet underwater? Would that help? It would. It would. That would probably, unless the thing landed right in the pool, it would help. If you had a pool with no water in it and you went inside it, would that help? Yeah, because unless the explosive or the drone hits inside the pool. If it hits outside the pool, the shrapnel's going to go over your head, not hit you. What about if you went up on the roof of a house? Would that help? Well, if it didn't hit the house, yeah, because the ground, it would probably not get you. But you need a bomb shelter. Or if you have a basement, that would work. But you don't see houses in California with basements. That's rare. That's really rare. Can you build yourself a bomb shelter? Sure. You take boards and you make your layout, and you probably want to go for 6 or 8 inch thick, maybe 12 inches. You want to go substantial. If I was going to do it, I'd go 12 inches. And you fill the concrete in the boards. Maybe you want to put a concrete floor in first. You fill them with the boards, and in a couple of days they dry. And you want to use a very hard concrete. And then you have to put a roof up there. So I don't know exactly how you'd want to do that, but you could find a way, I'm sure. You get a big, thick concrete roof would be very important. And then you have to get yourself a door that would be what you call a blast door, or something like a bank uses to, uh, a door to go into their accounting room or something like that, Uh, they sell pre-made bomb shelters to the size of an outhouse in Israel. Shipping one over there would probably be thousands, and probably be, you know, $3,000 or $4,000, but they probably sell them in America. Uh, but they're not going to. They're really for you put them outside your home. Uh, all right. And we're going to go through the UN Security Council dropped down on Iran, and China and Russia abstained from voting. This was the Security Council, not the General Assembly. They abstained, which was shocking. No action was taken. It was just a condemnation of what they're doing to the Gulf states. No mention of what they're doing to Israel. The UN does not care. If they want to kill Israel, the UN will not do a thing about it. So don't be sitting here crying, and when you see many, many people in the world dead in the very, very near future, Jeremiah 30:11 style. Don't sit there and think, this is horrible. It's not horrible. It needs to happen. Now people leave me, they hate me, I went ahead and put that song up the other day. You take the high road and I'll take the low road, and I'll bomb Tehran before ye. People are leaving me on Telegram like crazy. I don't care. Do you think I care if they leave me? They're enemies of God. I'm not worried about them. Salvation is still open, even if it is stupid Satan bots. They could still get salvation. When you unload on them with the tossed salad and the whole enchilada, I tell you this, I don't know if many of you really understand it. They go to Johnny Walker, Jim Beam, Budweiser, Zoloft, Prozac, Oxycodone, anything, wine, they can't take it, because now they, for the first time in their life, they realize the gospel is right. And they realize that demons and Satan and them don't have power, and they're not gods. They've just been lied to, but they don't know what to do because they're so scared that Satan's going to get them killed. Use other Satan bots to go kill them and, poison them, throw them off a roof. Who knows? They're so scared of this, okay? So scared of something they shouldn't be scared of. Fear God, who can wreck you for eternity, not fearing Satan. What the heck does he do? Throwing lightning bolts at people like he likes you to think. He uses the name of the search engine with the Y. I don't even want to repeat it. You know the name. And when you look the meaning of that name up, it means tough guy. Take it in a older Webster's dictionary, or not even older. And he wants people to think he's a tough guy. He's a pathetic piece of garbage. He doesn't have power. I've seen what he looks like. You haven't. He can disguise his appearance, okay? And I know what he looks like. And I just think he's a cockroach. And I fear him as much as a cockroach. And I go after him. And if the Lord would let me, which he won't, because revenge belongs to the Lord, I would step on him and grind him on the concrete like a cockroach. Okay? And the demons are even more fearful of believers than him. I mean, they're so scared. They're just lying to you. With the demons and Satan, there's no good that comes from them. They don't do anything good for anybody unless they're condemning them to an eternity in the lake of fire. Then they'll do good for the greater harm they do to you, because they're trying to get even with Jehovah. Okay? That's what it is. Just like you, Satan bots, will only do something nice to a believer to snare him in and drag him down. You got it? You reap what you sow. What you're doing to the people, the unclean spirits are doing to you. But there is hope for you. You can break away from them, turn to Jehovah, and then nothing's going to happen to you. They got no power. It ain't going to work. They can't do anything to you. Nobody's going to come and kill you or anything. Okay? Or you can be fearful to leave them. But they're stupids. These are the stupids, the unclean spirits and Satan. They just lie to you, just like you lie to people that are believers to snare them. That's what they do to you. You got to wake up and realize everybody reaps what they sow. You guys are so stupid. You're so dumb personified. You go out and worship idols, which an unclean spirit is an idol. You fornicate all the time. You do adultery all the time. You get drunk. You drug up. You lie 100 times a day or more. Okay? He who loveth and maketh a lie. And you're just thinking about how to do evil to people all the time. Then you come across a believer and you try to snare him into something like misunderstanding of scripture. And you say, oh, look what he did. Now I can curse him into oblivion. Yeah, that's what you guys think like. I know that. I was married to one of you vermin. Okay? And I know all about you, Okay? I had a great teacher, that ex-wife. Against them, she didn't know she was teaching, but she was. Okay, so you guys are that stupid, okay? And there's angels and there's Jehovah, and you're scared of them, and you just walk around and you're in fear of this, you're in fear of that. And then some believer comes along and lays a dose of spiritual warfare on you, cuts you off from your demons and many other things that we do, right? And then you crack up. But when you crack up, do you go to Jehovah for help? No, you're too dumb for that. You just like to stay cracked up. You become an alcoholic, for instance, or a drug addict, or you just become a nervous wreck because you realize that the gospel's true and your days above ground on earth are coming to a rapid end. But do you repent? No, you're too stupid for that. You're dumb. Why do I keep calling you stupid and dumb? Because you follow these losers that got thrown out of heaven. They don't have their powers anymore. What Satan did to Job, you think he could still do that? Of course not. Not. Okay? Look, you guys with the eye contact and crap, put a pair of sunglasses on and you defeat your whole thing. And you sit there and, oh, look at this power I got. You're crazy. You don't know you're crazy, but you're crazy. And when you get tossed and you get spiritual warfare laid on you, you crack up. We don't crack up. You put so much pressure on us because this is the end of the punishment of 2,000 years, which Satan never teaches you. It's in Hosea 6, 1 and 2. But you can't understand the scriptures. You can't. I've tested so many of you to see if you understand the scriptures. None of you do. Not one of you. Because you can't. You don't have the Holy Spirit. Can you throw the Holy Spirit out of us? No, you can't. You got 2-bit chuck and jive, phony baloney power. It's junk. It doesn't do anything. You need people to sin. You need people to get their permission to do things to them. People got to go, what kind of power is this? I don't have to do anything when I want to throw a demon into somebody. I just do it. Anywhere in the world they are, I can do it. I can bind and loose anywhere over the world. You don't have any power. We do. You're too dumb to understand it. But our power's been turned loose on you. And you crack up. You get nuts. And you try to come back to us and drag us down like things happened 10, 20 years ago when people were we're not in the churches. You're not going to get to us. We know the Bible. We know what we can do. We know what you can't do. And we know where you're headed and how weak you are. So you kid yourself with your cheap parlor tricks, like some fortune teller, with a ball and they sit in a dark room. Oh, your dead husband is here. Because maybe the dead husband had an unclean spirit and they found that unclean spirit and starts revealing things about the dead husband or a friend of the dead husband or something like that. It's the 2-bit parlor trick. Bunch of jerks. You go to a card game and you have demons read other people's hands and you could bet on it and win. Cheap 2-bit parlor trick. What good's your money going to do you in the very near future? Worthless money. 20 nations are now involved in this Iranian war. I'll give you the breakdown. 20. 20. And we haven't really gotten it lit up yet. Wait. All right, let me check the live stream. We'll go through everything. 20 nations involved in this thing. I'll go through everything with you. And I'm going to explain to you how the Iranians are going to get drones to hit California. And I do not for 1 minute believe that's an empty threat. Okay, I don't believe it at all. I'm actually surprised it took so long. So I don't believe it is to be an empty threat. No, not in the least. You're dealing with a bunch of psychiatrically insane people in Iran. Okay? And they're like criminally insane. They don't know right from wrong. And they really don't. They don't know left from right, up from down. And yeah, they'll attack you. And they got many, many thousands of drones. And I'll go through that with you. I'll tell you exactly how they're going to get the drones to attack you. California is on the coast. That's a clue right there. So they're going to come over the water. All right, I'm going to put a post up. Or I'm going to try to put a post up. Okay, there we go. This is going to take probably seconds, not minutes. Okay. Looks like I'm getting this squared away. And done. Now let me see if we got any questions in the live stream, which is possible. I do answer questions. We take prayer requests, stuff like that. Thank you, moderators. Have I heard of the legendary SOCON? No. No, there wasn't that much damage in Tel Aviv that I know about. We'll get more information on that during the day. Someone writes, exactly, they hate you, Moshe, or the true believers, but they hated Yeshua HaMashiach first. Correct? Right. No surprise. Plus, you get your true salvation from Yeshua, not from people. That's right. Yeshua is your source of the righteousness that his father, Jehovah, your father, respects. It came from him. Okay, so we're going to see a bunch of people leave the chat in a moment because I'm doing some praise, and you can join in if you like. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So how are they going to get these drones to get you? They have what's called drone aircraft carriers. They take commercial vessels like container ship and they fill them with drones and they launch them. They even have some that have a ramp on it. But to get close to America, the one with the ramp on it, no, it ain't going to work. They're going to have a boat probably look like a tanker or a grain tanker, corn, or something, and it could be a container ship even, and full of drones. They might have 150 drones in there. And when they go to attack, they take the drones on the deck and they just launch them off the deck. That's it. So they hit us with drones that go 1,000, 1,200 miles. So they could hit California from at least 800, 900 miles out. Maybe, I think, even 1,000 miles out. America's not out there monitoring the waterways for drones and ships that far from America that could be drone carriers. There's so many ships out there, they can't figure it out. It's not like the ship's going to be flagged in Iran and it's going to have, writing all over it, in Persian, in Farsi. No, it's not going to have that. It'll have writing in Chinese or Japanese or French or German or English. It'll be flagged in Nassau or someplace like that, right? And it'll have a history that verifies, and all of that stuff will be there. And it'll go. And they're out in the middle of nowhere, and they just take their time launching the drones. They could do it at night when no one's going to see them, really. They could do it under cover of cloud. They really don't have to. They could do it on a bright, sunny day. And then they guide the drones. Now, maybe that's too far for them to guide the drone, so they need other ships closer to guide the drone, which they could arrange. It doesn't have to be anything but a 50-foot boat, a fishing boat. They know how to get it done. And then the Chinese and Russian ships may guide the drones for them. Oh, yeah. They won San Francisco. That's an icon. Now, they usually have a camera that transmits, and they could steer or aim the drone. Drones generally make noise. If you're in your house and you hear the noise and you see the thing out your window someplace, buy yourself a Benelli semi-automatic shotgun, the military kind. It has about 8 rounds in it. I had one of these. When you start firing the 8 rounds, you can finish the 8th round fired before the shell casing from the first round hits the ground. Now, not everybody's going to do that, but you should be able to get 3 or 4 rounds off before the first round shell casing hits. Okay. Now, I would suggest you buy the 3-inch shells, not the 2 3/4. They have 12 double-aught buck pellets in there. I wouldn't mess around with birdshot and stuff like that. They're not going to get through the drum. If you can get copper-coated lead with a copper coating, better. It'll penetrate better. If you could get steel shot, better. It'll penetrate better. If you're just using lead double-aught buck, you're going to you've got, if you put a choke on it, to do a choke, you got to go to your gun store and tell them you want to have a choke. You're afraid of drones. Tell them. And you want to be able to group out 100 yards. And they can put a choke on it for you. It's not much money. And it'll let you get out 100 yards, and you'll have a pattern like that. So you hit the drone with those pellets. It's if they get through the shell of the drone, which is not that hard to do. It's metal, but they can't armor a drone and put thick metal in there. It's too heavy. They can't make it do that. It's just metal, that's all. And it'll go right through it. Okay. You can do it with a rifle or a pistol, but now you're shooting a bullet this big, or maybe that big, at this drone, where when you're talking about a shotgun, you've got a bullet, hypothetically, just for this discussion, that big, and you got 12 of these pellets in there, you might very well hit it. But I wouldn't tell you all to go out and buy a shotgun. Number one, you got to see the stupid thing, not just hear it. Okay. And then you got to have a shot. Not an easy thing to do. Okay. What would they target? Well, They're probably not going to target houses, but like in the UAE, they hit hotels, office buildings. So you can't say they're not going to hit you. They probably will hit buildings. They're going to try to hit government installations first, military, infrastructure, airports, bridges, overpasses. I don't think they care about those. Cell phone centers, data centers. Maybe go after oil refineries. California has oil wells, so they got to have oil refineries. FBI buildings, CIA buildings. There's a lot of military bases in California they'll go after, like Fort Bragg and San Diego Navy base, and there's they keep the F-22 Raptors in Florida in the Gulf of Mexico area. They could get that, or they could try to. I'm not saying they're going to get it. Jacksonville has a very, very big Navy base. State go, but that's the wrong side of the world, Jacksonville. So, that's what they'll do. Drones are rather dangerous. Okay. Now they could put cameras in the drone and figure out what they want to hit. Now they got a thing called loitering drones, where the drone, let's say they want to kill some guy. Okay, I don't know. They know who he is for some reason. They want to whack him, so they could have the drone loiter outside his office at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, wait for him to leave, and then the drone waits till he gets in his car, and then the drone blows his car up with him in it. They could do things like that. This could likely trigger the scripture in Jeremiah 50:51 that says, for fear of the sword, the workers from foreign countries that do agriculture work are going to go back to their own country. This could be it. Fear of the sword. Exploding drones is definitely a sword. Okay. So they could go. I mean, I'm just telling you, with this shotgun thing, that's a sheer act of desperation. Okay. If you were in a militia and you were all gathered at a camp, at a compound, they'd probably have 2 or 3 guys watching during the night, during the day, with shotguns for drones and take the thing down if it came there. If they were smart, they would. You could take it down with full automatic too. If you had an AR with a 40-round clip, you could, shoot quick bursts at it. You may have to go through 120 rounds till you get it, but you'd have a good chance of getting it if you knew what you were doing. If the drone sees you on the camera trying to shoot it, it may just decide that you're a good target to destroy. Most likely it would pull away from you. They would steer it away. It can hit boats in port. What would there be in San Francisco that's of interest to them? Well, the Federal Reserve Bank there, the American Stock Exchange is there, right down on California Street, near Market, easy hit, no problem. Big banks, that's not a great target for them. Icon buildings, like the Bank America Tower, I don't know, 60 floors up, they could hit that. There's the Transamerica building, which is white and has that peak, and you see the elevator shafts up the side, and the higher up you go, the smaller the offices get. They could do things like that. Down in Silicon Valley, there's all kinds of, you know, fire military contractors, loads of them. Loads of them. Westinghouse. Oh, I couldn't even begin to tell you everything is down there. They could go attack that. Why don't they? I'm reading this. Let me go through some of this stuff. The Lord showed me something today that was really interesting. I never heard or thought of this before, but let me get us through the news, because there's a lot of news and it's rather important. Okay, prayer requests. Let's go to work on those. I'll do the prayer requests and you can agree with it if you're a believer, and do it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, of course. First prayer request is for ES, Echo Sierra ES. I prayed my Heavenly Father Jehovah for ES to get the living situation improved, a better situation, and healing from surgery be accelerated with no pain or discomfort. And I submit this prayer to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that in Yeshua's name. Next, EB, Echo Bravo, EB, Echo Bravo, EB. I'll submit a prayer, and you guys, well, I already prayed, so let me just put it out there and you guys can pray. So for EB, you want healing for the little finger, the pinky. No more pain or discomfort for the pinky. Arthritis is the issue. Okay? For EB, pray for the pinky for healing and no pain. It's an arthritis thing. Okay. Someone wanted me to pray this, and I think it's a good prayer, and I'm going to do it. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for all the believers to hang on and not get stressed out with all the stuff coming on the world right now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with these if you're a believer, okay? And that makes it more powerful, I would assume. Okay, there we go. So I think I gave you a pretty good idea how the drones could get there. They'll come from ships. And I don't know if they got to send big swarms, because I don't know if America has any anti-aircraft stuff protecting civilian areas. I don't think so. Okay. The Bank of Sepah, this is some Arab Farsi talk, SEPAH, was hit last night by Americans and Israelis about 1 o'clock in the morning local time. Combined Israeli-American attack by plane. It's a big data center for the Iranian banking system, and it's located in Tehran on Hagahani Street. Hagahani rhymes with Kamani. Hagahani, all right. With a precision missile strike. This is the exact bank that pays the salaries of all the Iranian government. It pays all the government workers, and the military soldiers get paid from this bank. As a consequence of this Iran bank being attacked, which would imply it was destroyed, Iran has publicly said they will now commence attacking U.S. and Israeli related banks throughout the Middle East. This is supposed to include Citibank, Standard Charter, Deloitte, and PwC banks. And these people, the bank personnel, are evacuating. They mean it. The banks are telling the staff they should be working from their home now, which is going to mean only some of the work will get done. So they're closing the banks in Dubai, in their international financial district, and the staff is working from home. So they believe it's going to predominantly focus in Dubai, which has a lot of different banks in there. This is not going to sit well with the Donald, because you're starting to mess with money. Trump is going to get mad. That's how you get Trump mad. So this attack was a massive attack, okay? So they got a lot of damage. That's more trouble. Okay. 2 oil tankers have been attacked in the Persian Gulf by our friends Iran, and are burning and exploding. The vessels are in the territorial waters of Iraq, near the city of Basra. Interesting. Now, Iraq also is on the Persian Gulf, I believe. Yeah. I think so. Witnesses say small boats were seen rapidly approaching the vessels, plural, before they exploded. Before the boats exploded, the big boats. The described scene seems to be describing unmanned vessels, commonly called marine or maritime drones. Now, it also could have been go fast boats. I want to say that too, but these could be drone boats, definitely. So you got burning ships now. Iran has struck a Thailand registered ship attempting to pass through the Straits of Hormuz. That's number 3. So they got 3 boats. So if you're listening to mainstream news that are, parroting what Trump is saying, oh, the Straits are open, you know, you better wake up. They're not speaking the truth. The Straits are not open. They're saying we got a lot of rumors. They're saying that about a dozen naval mines were put in the water in the Straits of Hormuz. And some are saying maybe not. They don't know. I think there are some mines in the waters now. Now I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to break it down for you. There's 20 nations that are involved in this war now. 20. Obviously, Israel and Iran, right? No explanation needed. Okay. Kuwait getting bombed like crazy. Bahrain, ditto. Qatar, ditto. Oman, ditto. Jordan, not so much, but getting bombed and trying to take down missiles. Saudi, yeah, getting bombed. Yemen, not so much. Okay, Yemen, they're threatening to get in. They're kind of in the war and not in the war, but not really in the war yet. Lebanon, they're attacking us. Iraq is getting attacked and attacking, and they got Iranian-backed militias and all sorts of problems now in Iraq. Azerbaijan, they've been attacked, and they intend to strike back at Iran. Turkey, they've been attacked, and Turkey put them on notice. Cyprus attacked, put them on notice, and there's a lot of warships sent to Cyprus to protect Cyprus. The USA, that's obvious. France, warships to Cyprus, taking down missiles and drones with their aircraft, attempting to hit the UAE. So France is in it. UK, they've got an aircraft carrier coming to Cyprus. They're in it. Germany, military boat going to Cyprus. They're in it. Italy, same thing. Netherlands, same thing. Israel, well, we're being attacked. Russia, giving weapons and intelligence to Iran. China, ditto. And actually, I actually lied to you. It's 22 nations. Forgive me. I had it wrong. 22 nations. So, do you see anything wrong with this picture? Do you think that perhaps we really are in the period of redemption? This is growing, and we ain't done yet. NATO and the EU look like they want in. Then you get up to 50 nations or more. I don't know. And Iran is still going strong. Trump doesn't know what to do. Trump's sitting there on TV and saying we're running out of targets. He's got to get that Persian Gulf open. I don't know how he's going to do that yet. There's about 10 ways to get it done, but let's see what he does. The Thai authorities saying it was a bulk carrier named Mayuri Nari, sailing under the Thailand flag, was struck by projectiles while traveling about 18 kilometers north of Oman. The hull suffered a very significant breach. So what are we looking at here? Are we looking at a missile? Maybe not. Are we looking at a torpedo? Likely. Are we looking at a naval mine? Likely. Do we know for sure? No. Oh, it'll come out, but when you're on the ship, you may not see what hit you. You're just going to hear and feel it. You don't know what happened. The Iranian missile launches are being destroyed methodically at a rate of 5 to 10 launches a day. So it could take an additional 3 weeks from today to get rid of their missile launches. Now, then there's the Hezbollah problem. They probably have today about 140 missile launches. They might have 135, maybe 130, maybe 143. I think a reasonable number is about 140. That's way, way, way too many. If they got 12 or 15 missile launches, that's one thing, but they got way too many. Last night, America and Israel together attacked inside Iraq. An Israeli pilot, I put this on my Telegram yesterday, the actual recording, an Israeli pilot with a heavy accent in English told an American pilot, he said, I want you to know it's an honor to fly next to you or shoulder to shoulder. You're very good and I appreciate it and thank you, that type of dialogue. And the guy from America answered, gentleman, right back at you. He was giving the compliment back to him. And then he said, he was probably in a hurry. Then he said, now be safe out there and strike hard. Real Top Gun, Maverick. Hey, Maverick, But they are good. Now, these guys were most likely aircraft carrier pilots that he was speaking to. And you got to understand the difference in the skill set between landing on a runway 2 or 3 miles long and landing on a ship that has a runway that's moving up and down in an ocean, left and right and everything else, plus traveling 25 miles or 25 knots an hour, and you're working on maybe 700-800 foot runway that got hooks on it that's going to grab your plane and bring it to an abrupt halt. It's a big difference. That's a very hard thing to do compared to just landing on a non-moving huge runway with all kinds of lights. Now, they do light the aircraft carrier up, So then when he's finished, I think after the hooks get him and he slows down abruptly and he has to, that must feel great, all the G-forces. I think people can handle about 6 Gs and that's about it, then you're going to get trouble. I think maybe some people can get 7 or 8, but that's about it. That the pilot will normally turn the plane around and park it somewhere on the deck, and then the crew guys come and they help him get out, and he climbs down. And then, if it was just a regular practice run, nothing, and he goes and sees his squad leader and says, "Yeah, I'm back, everything's fine, no mechanical, no nothing." Okay, that takes a minute or two, but not this time. He gets back and he gets out of the plane, and then he has to immediately, and I mean immediately, he could go to the bathroom and take care of business, and he could, on the way, probably grab himself a cup of coffee or a bottle of water while he's walking. But he's going to the intelligence center, and he's going to speak to guys that are rather highly trained people. These are not people with badges and guns. These are intelligence operatives for the Navy that are working with situations like this. So after they come back from a combat run, they want to know all kinds of things about it, but they want to know it immediately when the pilot gets back. So they'll have teams of these people working with the pilot, and it's all friendly. Okay, how did you do? What did you see? What was the resistance? What was the weather? Tell us about this. What did you do? Blah, blah, and they get all that logged right away before his memory fades. And it could be, he could be there an hour, he could be there 10 minutes. And then after that, he's he's free. So he changes out of a flight suit into casual uniform, and then he probably goes and maybe takes a shower, gets on the internet, or just goes to the mess and eats. During the night, Israel and the USA attacked in Iraq, a joint attack. The pro-Iranian militia bases with multiple casualties reported. That's a nice way of saying they killed a bunch of guys. Iranian-backed militias in Iraq. Okay. Now, this is something where the Lord showed me something. I'm going to read you this right now. Boeing signs a $289 million Israel contract for 5,000 smart bombs. The new contract is not related to the ongoing U.S.-Israel airstrikes on Iran, with deliveries not scheduled to start for 36 months. Bloomberg News reported earlier Okay. So how much does each bomb cost? $58,000. That's the arithmetic per bomb. Now, the Lord was showing me something that I never thought of. Why can't they just take cargo planes? Now, remember, we have complete run of the airspace over Iran. Okay? They got nothing left to shoot down planes with that we know about. You can run good old cargo planes there, like C-17s and stuff, right? And what can you do? You could fill them up with rocks. I mean, don't laugh. Let me play this out for you. Rocks. I mean, rocks. Try to get rocks that are 10 to 20 pounds, right? And you go up about 8 or 10,000 feet. Or you really could do it at 5,000 feet pretty well. And you get over your target, and you have these rocks in like a box, and it has a cable inside the cargo plane, and you pull that particular box to the back of the plane where it's open, and when you're over the target, it tilts it, and the rocks pour out. Now, you're getting rocks that are going to realistically be running at a speed of perhaps 200 miles an hour. What do you think happens to a house with a 10 or 20-pound rock hitting it at 200 miles an hour? Going to create a lot of damage. Don't you think? What does it cost for a rock? Well, the collection costs and all that maybe costs you $1 or $2 a rock. Getting it in the thing and everything, maybe $5 a rock, or I don't know. Maybe it costs you $400 or $500 or $1,000 to have a whole container of them in there. It's cheap. It's cheap. Now, what if you did it now? What if you wanted? Well, the bombs cause fires and explosions. Okay, so let's say you took some of these rocks and you coated them in tar, and then you lit them up a couple of seconds before you threw them out of the plane. You could mass light them. Well, now you got fire bombs. But let's say you did it more sophisticated and you went and you took hardened concrete balls or blocks, and you had them at 25 pounds, 50 pounds, and 100 pounds. And you just shove those out of airplanes over the target. Now, what would it do if you hit a military building or an Air Force conning tower with a 100-pound concrete ball? It would go down probably to the ground. It would go 3 or 4 floors down. 100-pound concrete ball, hard concrete, traveling at about 200 miles an hour. That's taking into account air resistance. Is going to probably go right through the floors of the building. What would something like that cost you? $250 instead of $58,000. So you could load a plane up with tons of these things and just throw them out. Well, they're not going to be precise. Who the heck cares? They're going to get all over the place. Well, you're going to hit civilians, guys. You better get ready for this right now, what I'm going to tell you, because I'm telling you, this lines up with prophecy as I see it, though maybe not exactly, but I don't see any way they're getting Iran to stop the fight unless they start killing the people. America did that in Vietnam. America did that in World War II in Germany, and they did it in Japan. And that's the only way they're going to get it to stop. That's the only way. Now, Netanyahu's got some harebrained idea that he hooked up with, and he's contaminating Trump with it, and that is destroying the houses. Now, Trump destroyed thousands and thousands and thousands of houses in Gaza. Has it ended the war? Yes, because we destroyed the missile launchers and their missiles, okay? But it doesn't end the war. They're still in Gaza and they won't disarm. That's the game plan for Hezbollah. This is our idiot Netanyahu, okay? Blows houses up, guys. The only way you're going to end this is to blow people up. Houses don't kill people. People kill people, okay? You go after Hezbollah and kill them like they're trying to kill Israelis. You go kill them. You blow them up. And that's the only thing that's really going to give you a quick remedy. That's going to scare Hezbollah. That's going to deactivate them on a rather permanent level. Destroying their houses is some wimp way of doing it. Well, I don't want the nations coming back at me. Or perhaps it's, I don't want to destroy Satan's chosen people. You know? So this is what you're dealing with. I think it would be rather interesting if you took cargo planes and you put many tons of rocks on those and just dump them out over your target area, and you'd be hitting cars, buildings, traffic lights, concrete in the surface, and the ground would break. You would break up buildings, all kinds of things. And then the rocks are strewn about in the street, and they got to remove them. And that's more work. So I don't know if they'll ever do that. I doubt it. But it was a good thought. When you give money in these amounts to these companies, they give kickbacks, is what I'm afraid they do, and that's why they don't want to stop. What if you made 100-pound concrete balls and dropped them on tunnels from 10,000 feet up or even less, and they go in at about 200 miles an hour? What are they going to do? Well, they're going to go down pretty deep. They're not going to go down 250 feet, but neither do the bombs. Just think about it. Just think about it. U.S. Central Command said they destroyed 16 boats yesterday used for laying mines as well as additional duties. So, based on that, there were 16 boats laying mines. So they probably have a lot more than 12 mines. You see, we're getting a lot of conflicting information because America doesn't want us to know this because of the oil price problem. Okay. The UAE, we're going to cover oil prices in a minute, and they went back up again. The UAE, 4 injured at Dubai airport as a result of the impact of 2 Iranian drones. According to Reuters, Iran placed, this is 12 naval mines, Reuters is saying, but it appears to me that definitely there are a certain amount of naval mines that have been placed, and it's really the Persian Gulf is closed, has been for days. Don't let them con you. The Iranian criminal regime is now openly threatening to kill every dissenter, everybody that's against the mullahs, the dictatorship, inside Iran or abroad. So they're threatening to kill them even if they're not inside Iran. They go protesting in America or the UK or Netherlands or something. They're against them too. And make their mothers weep over their graves. See, so they're really not going to care about countries killing their citizens because they do it too. But they will care about countries killing their Muslim citizens because that's their support. And how do you find Muslims? Well, there's a thing called the mosque that helps. Okay. The Israeli officials say there's not any specific event taking place, nor do they seem to know of any such specific event that is going to signal an end of the war. Um, so we don't have a trigger, or if this happens, the war is over. No, we don't. We don't have a. If this happens, the war is over. You're dealing with criminally insane people that are lunatics, really, and we don't know what makes them work. Khomeini's mojito, or they call it mojitaba, is out of contact. He has not contact. He's had apparently bad leg injuries, and he's on probably other injuries too, and he's on a respirator, unconscious. He doesn't even know he's the new supreme leader. Iran is now having overcrowding in hospitals. There's no space for bodies. We destroyed the server farm of the Bank of the Revolutionary Guards and the Iranian army. So they're losing their servers. Well, that's the bank. We covered that a little bit. The data center in the bank is gone. So they don't know how to pay the people working for the government and the military. They don't know who they are. They'll recover eventually, somehow, I guess. Uh, this is coming from the CENTCOM commander, Admiral Brad Cooper, probably a four-star admiral. The U.S. attacked 5,500 targets in Iran and sank 60. So that's why Trump is saying they're running out of targets. Israel probably by now did 4,000 targets, or maybe, I don't think we did as many, but we're up there. Definitely over 3,000 for sure, no doubt about it. So you got almost 10,000 targets. I mean, when Trump says we're running out of targets, believe him. And then Netanyahu's going to tell him, let's start blowing houses up, and Trump's going to go for it. We picked up a missile launcher placed under a bridge, and we were fortunate to find it. When you have wars like this, the difficulty you got is when you're doing an air attack, is you don't know who or what is under an overpass, inside a bridge, any of that stuff. Inside tunnels, traffic tunnels, you don't know what's in there. I'm sure Iran has roads that go through mountains, so the mountain might be a mile or two. So you go cut, you're in a tunnel of a mile, and they could put all kinds of missile launchers and weapons in there and close the tunnel. How are you going to blow the tunnel up? Go through 1,800 feet of mountain? What we're doing to their missile cities, it finally came out, and it was what I was telling you. You have openings that open up, and there's an underground embankment with missiles in there, and it's kind of mechanized. And the opening opens up, and then the missiles fire out. You can't fire the missiles through the earth. You're just going to kill yourself, right? But they're mechanized, so there's not many people in there. So every time they see an opening, boom, they attack the thing. They blow the opening up. So the opening is not an opening anymore. It's full of debris, and they can't control it. Open it and close it, and you can't shoot the missile through it because it's all screwed up and it'll blow up. It has debris in there from the blast and stuff like that. So that's the end of that. Yeah. So it's a slow process. 5 to 10 a day we get. When they fire, we take them out. That's the way it works. It's tedious. And it's not as severe with Hezbollah in Lebanon, but it's severe enough to be a pain in the neck. So there's a lot of places you could hide when you're running just an air attack, and you don't know what goes on in these tunnels. You don't know what goes on in overpasses and, underneath a bridge or something like that. You don't know. This is the Hamas tactic of hiding, using civilian things as, human shields or civilian infrastructure as a shield. What goes on is it appears that the IRGC forces in Iran are roaming the streets armed, and even patrolling the streets with armed vehicles. So they're probably using armored personnel carriers, or maybe tanks or armored jeeps or something like that. So they're scared. But they wouldn't be doing it. They're petrified, scared, actually. They're going to massacre the protesters. They see the protesters as a dire threat, and I think they correctly understand that the CIA and other organizations are going to fund this move. America made a temporary request to Romania to the guy it's an air base called Ayal Koganisianu. Believe me, I can't pronounce this Romanian language air base to support the American Middle East operations, including refueling tankers and deploying fighter jets and sending up to 500 personnel there. And the chances of Romania granting their wishes is probably in the 98, 99% range. Romania and America get along. There's not a problem with them. The head of the Iranian National Security Council, Ali Larijani, tonight we received a message from the U.S. president through the Omani mediators. Now, remember, Oman is the mediation country, as was Qatar, and they're attacking it. They're attacking the mediators. These are psychos, these Iranians, okay? They're requesting that we negotiate a ceasefire. Our response is that we will not accept any negotiations as long as an entity called Israel exists. Can you see why they're not long for this world? Because they're enemies of Jehovah. Jehovah's trying to raise Israel up and they want to eliminate Israel. Well, it's on them. They're not Jehovah. President Trump on Spain. Spain is not cooperating with us at all. They are behaving very badly. Bad boy, Spain. What you going to do when the special forces come for you? Maybe we'll cut off traditions with them. So Trump is talking about killing any imports from Spain again. What would that do to Spain's economy? Probably severely damage them. They wouldn't like it. Then Trump would probably warn people not to become a tourist in Spain, and Spanish citizens would have to apply for visas and they would frequently get turned down. So no more Disney World. They'd have to go to Disney in Paris, Now, Lebanon was trying to get to Trump to shut Israel down so Israel doesn't attack them. And they were basically trying to leave Hezbollah intact. So what did Trump say? We love the Lebanese people. We have to get rid of Hezbollah. That was it. He really chose his words very well. Or somebody chose it for him, but it was very well worded. Very short and very brief. It sent the message, no, we're not helping you, but we love you, which is not that meaningless, not that meaningful. And we got to get rid of Hezbollah, so there's nothing you can do about it. It was a pretty good way of saying it. Boy, isn't there a lot of news? A van just rammed into a White House barricade, and the driver has been apprehended by the Secret Service. No injuries reported as per Fox News, and several streets are now blocked. Why would a driver intentionally drive into the barricade? Well, they're going to find out. There could have been an explosive that didn't come out. It didn't explode. It was faulty. What else could it be? The guy was trying to penetrate the barricade and get onto the White House lawn. There was no explosive. I don't know exactly what, but they'll get a working knowledge of it. I'm pretty sure they'll search his house, his vehicles, go through his social media, his email, his closets. They'll figure out, talk to the neighbors, the friends, the co-workers. They'll get somewhere with it. If there's somewhere to go. There's a real problem in Dubai. In Dubai, many, many thousands of passengers are rushing to the airport to get out, the international airport. I think there's more to this than we know. All of a sudden, they want to get out. It's crazy, huh? And they're not all getting out. Iran has been devoting a lot of special attention to the UAE. Now, I've told you this before, but let me kind of dwell on it. The UAE has a massive amount of structures that are worth in the billions. High-rise office buildings, 60, 70, 80, 50 stories, 70, 80, 90, whatever. Residential buildings that are that tall and even higher. Hotels that kind of height and higher. And then you have private houses. Now, they're usually built in landfill areas by the water, so they have a beachfront, but it's a landfill place. It's not natural, but it's kind of nice. You got maybe 5 feet of sand between your back lawn and the water, so you don't have much of a beach, but you got something going. But anyway, these houses are going to be at least like $4 million, and they go to 40, $50 million, and there's tons of these things around. They're going to go. There's a Warner Brothers amusement park there that cost $1 billion. That's going to go. They got massive malls there. That's going to go. Stores, restaurants, tourist attractions, water slide parks. This kind of a Ferrari world is there with some kind of roller coasters like Ferraris or something. And, these are multi-million and billion-dollar places all over there, and they're going to go kaput. They're going to go kaput. That's one of the reasons these people want to get out of there. They're getting their money out of there. Where are they going? You got me. France, UK, probably Europe, France, UK, Spain, possibly. Probably those are your contenders. They're going to be going to European countries. It may do them no good if Europe gets into the war any bigger. Massive destruction. Already you've had it, and you're going to have a lot more. So God's destroying. This is probably the beginning of Jeremiah 30, verse 11. Remember, I told you the nations get destroyed, not everybody gets killed. Well, people are leaving the UAE, but it looks like it's going down. And the same with Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, Saudi. Listen to me, this is a fear that they have, and it's a grounded fear. If the Houthis in Yemen get into the fight, which I'm sure they will do at some point, they might be hanging tough, waiting for us to stop Hezbollah from being able to launch, and then they'll take it up. That's a likelihood. Okay, believe me, I live here many years. That's a likelihood. It also can be not only would the Houthis hit the Red Sea and block traffic there, they would also got a jet overhead, but he's not moving fast. Sounds F-35-ish. Those suckers are loud. They got one big engine. We're also being told that tens of thousands of foreigners and expats are leaving Dubai as the tensions are escalating and missiles and drones have been intercepted over the UAE to a good extent, but some are getting through, and there might be fears or rumors that the amount of missiles they have to do takedowns is expiring and running out, and that's why people are just getting out of there. While this is going on, mind you, many airline flights have been canceled because Iran is attacking the airport in the UAE and other countries. And some of the airlines, for example, KLM, have suspended flights to and from Dubai for security concerns, So, got problems. Drone incident occurring near Dubai International Airport, briefly disrupting flights. Probably the Iranians were probably trying to do that. Demand for private jets and evacuation flights has surged as the wealthy residents try to leave quickly. Well, they've got a lot of money, and the private plane charter price is probably 3 to 5 times greater than what it normally would be, but they don't care, they'll pay it. So if the normal price to go to a nearby country was $70,000 and it becomes $300,000, they don't care. We're the poor ones, and that's because of the Satan bots. They do that on purpose to us. So they're going to be the slaves of the future. You watch. If that's what Jehovah sees fit for them, far be it for me to criticize him. I'm not. Bottom line, yeah. Wait a minute. So there, I don't know exactly why Iran is focusing on the UAE, but they're not really. They're also focusing on Qatar and Bahrain. You know, they're you know kind of being an equal opportunity bomber. You know. Um, on the other side of things, Google finalizes a $32 billion acquisition of Israeli cybersecurity company Wiz a year after first announcing the largest acquisition of a company founded in Israel. Google Google completed the deal that's expected to help it compete against Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. Okay. Uh, that's a massive amount of money. There's going to be people in Israel that are involved in this that are going to get, anywhere from, $500,000 to probably over 100 million, 400 million. We've got these kind of people in Israel. You got billionaires and multi millionaires from these kind of sales. A lot of the money goes to the government of Israel and it taxes a lot, 23%, I believe, or something like that, maybe less. I think it's about 18 or 23, something like that. Maybe it's 10%. I don't know. They come out, they don't get clobbered. They come out okay. Um, Trump saying there's practically nothing left to target in Iran. Um, we got so many We had a salvo of 150 missiles from Hezbollah yesterday. I think it was 100 actually. One salvo was 100. Then we had other salvos. That was what I believe it was. Um, the red alerts were going off, so now we're taking a posture with the dogs of giving them a treat when the red alerts go off and they're in the house. So if they're outside the house, they're going to run to get in the house, which we want them to do. We don't want them out there because it could be a shrapnel. Um, do I think Trump is leaving the war? No, no. I don't think Trump's leaving the war. I thought for a brief period of time he might, but no. He's got to protect these other oil producing states. And he's not, you know. Okay. You got to remember, we're picking up 3 new aircraft carriers here any day. Some of them could be here already. I think the French one's here. The British one will be here, and the George Bush one will be here. And that's going to probably, the French probably got 40, 50 planes. Same with the British. So let's say they got 80 planes to be conservative. And the Bush got about that. So they're going to pick up another 160 planes. But what are we going to be bombing? I mean, concentrated bombing on the missile cities, I think, has already been done. It's their mobile missile launches, and we got to wait for them to use them to find them. So Netanyahu's going to start saying, let's just, destroy the houses. I don't know. I mean, it's not going to do that much. So the Israeli pilot said verbatim, it's a great honor for us to fight alongside you. You're doing a great job. The American pilot goes, thank you very much, gentlemen. No, wait, he says, thank you very much. Likewise, gentlemen. He's returning the compliment back to them. Stay safe out there. Strike hard. See you. He didn't want to get into a big discussion. He probably was confused about what the policy of America is on that, or he could have been doing stuff and was distracted. But he was nice, for sure. So they're saying the FBI is saying Iranian drones targeting California off the coast. So this is a reality. It's not something that Iran is thinking, that FBI is thinking might happen someday. No, it's there. You're going to see panic in America. Okay. The International Energy Agency, the IEA, said its member nations have agreed to release a record 400 million barrels of oil from strategic reserves in an attempt to stabilize global energy markets as the war involving Iran continues to crude, disrupt crude oil. This is only a 4-day worldwide supply. The world uses 100 million barrels a day. They're putting 4 days worth of oil out there. Come on, guys. They're not going to be able to keep the oil prices down. They're trying, but again, it's not something that they can realistically accomplish for very much longer. For a very brief period of time, they might be able to do it. Maybe they could get 2 or 3 weeks out of it. And that's about it. And that's giving them the benefit of the doubt. They might not even get that far with it. It's not an easy thing to do. I'm going to get you the oil prices and the gold and silver in a moment. So the UN Security Council meeting, this is the Security Council, and Russia and China abstained from voting, which I thought was shocking. So they're probably trying to send a message to Iran, stop, just stop, okay? they're saying Iran's they condemned the Islamic Republic called Iran for interfering with international navigation through the Straits of Hormuz, which is a war crime against international law. At the moment, the resolution mainly does three things, not much. It is an official condemnation of Iran's practices. It publicly declares the attacks illegal under international law, attacks on the neighboring Gulf oil producing states and closing the Persian Gulf, and demands to stop the attacks. It orders Iran to halt the strikes. It signals that the Security Council might do something in the future. Now, I was planning on NATO and the EU entering the war. I never thought about the UN. But I don't think you're going to see the UN into it. What I mean is this. The UN Security Council issues an ultimatum to Iran. You stop the war, or we're raising an army and coming in and stopping it for you. No, I don't think we'll see that because China and Russia will veto it. That's for sure. So it'll get vetoed. What it did not automatically do is something that it could do in the future, such as the UN could authorize military action, blockades. How the heck are they going to blockade the place? It's already blockaded. Okay. New sanctions. Are there any sanctions really left? Peacekeeping forces. No, you can't have peacekeeping forces. You got to wage war on them first. They'll kill your peacekeeping forces. So it's rather stupid what the normal run-of-the-mill options that the UN uses are worthless in this case. Okay. So this would require a separate resolution, another one, under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. So they would have to go meet again. No big deal. But I don't believe China and Russia are going to do it. They're allies. How the heck are they going to tell the UN to go attack their ally? It's a little stupid, right? So don't look to the UN. Now, the EU and NATO look to them. So a lot of this UN stuff is basically a political, we're not happy with what you did. And Iran doesn't care about that. They're fighting for their lives. They're not going to pay attention to, the UN slapping their hand and saying, we're very unhappy with what you're doing. They're going to sit around and say, well, we're unhappy with what's happening to us. Why don't you go fly a kite or take a long walk on a short pier? They're not going to pay attention. Why? They're in a fight for their life. Don't kid yourself. Any type of enforcement action from the UN is very difficult right now, and I don't think you'll see it. Because they're not going to get, one veto and it's over, and China and Russia will both veto it. How can they sit there and say they want a military option against their ally? They can't. I don't know how they're going to put sanctions on. They're already there. An arms embargo, yeah, that they can get, but China and Russia are going to veto it. Asset freezes, I think it's already been done. Naval enforcement or military authorization. Oh, that'll be in place if it's not already there. So, you know, Trump's not looking to build a Trump resorts and casino in the Persian Gulf. He's got Gaza for that. It's never going to happen, but he doesn't know that. So we're telling Lebanon that they're going to look like Gaza, and they're still continuing to provide a safe haven for Hezbollah to attempt to kill Israel. So nothing's changed with them. Um, Indonesia lowered the amount of troops they were contributing to the Gaza peace deal, uh, lowered it down to 8,000. I think they were offering much more. I don't know why they did this. It could have something to do with Trump and Iran. I don't know. I really don't know. 8,000 is still a significant number. But why do we have to have Muslim troops in there? They hate Israel. I was trying to buy something online that goes through like an auction, not exactly an auction, but buy a place online. So I go in there and everything's fine with the guy, and he says, I'll give you a shipping quote. Tell me where you live. I tell him where I live. Never talks to me again. See, they hate Israel. They don't want to sell anything to Israel. I get a lot of that. But you know what? These people aren't going to be above ground long. No. Recompenses doesn't last for a million years or 1,000 years or centuries or anything like that. It's about gone, you know. The word used for year of recompenses, the word for year is shanat, which gives an implication of something like a year, but it's not a year. It's an indeterminate prophetic period of time. But because it's the shanat word is very similar to shana, the year word, it probably isn't going to be very long. And it's been already, the first I was told of this was August 10, 2023. So it's been over 2 years, 2.5 years easily, I guess, right? Um, so I think it's coming to the end of the line, seriously. I can't tell you when it's coming to the end of the line, but I think it's coming to the end of the line. And I expect the world to be taken off guard, and we might be taken off guard too. We know what's going to happen, but we don't know the timing, precise, accurate timing. We won't know the day of the hour, but we know what to look for, which puts us ahead of the curve there, big time. Um, you notice how Epstein disappeared from the news? A lot of people said that's one of the motives Trump's using to attack Iran is Epstein. He wants that shut down because there was all kinds of fingers pointed at him with Epstein, and he sure made that go away. I would say 99% of any Epstein stuff out there is not out there anymore. Earlier today, WTI American crude was $94-95 a barrel, and Brent was 100 to 101. Let's take a look at it now, because that's a few hours old and things are happening quickly. Let's take a look. Current price of crude oil, WTI, and Brent. Today price this hour right now. WTI is about 95 a barrel, and the Brent, I got 94 and 90 cents, so let's say 95, okay. And the Brent crude is about $100.40 a barrel. So we're getting back up there, not to the high we had of 119, but it's moving. Okay. People are going to wake up and realize more and more the Persian Gulf is closed. The Straits of Hormuz is closed. And then it's going to get worse and worse. Trump is trying to make believe it's not closed, which is, as stupid as asking Tinkerbell to throw some fairy dust on it, I got over the years in eBay, I had a reasonably small amount of people that would refuse to sell anything to Israel when there were no wars. It does happen. Yeah. So the oil's coming back up, guys. I'm telling you, it's just a few days and you'll see it. The Iranians said they're not stopping until the oil hits 200 a barrel. Okay. If it hits 200 a barrel, is it going to go from $3 to $6? Hold on, let's see what oil's selling for now. We'll use America for the price. Okay. Gas station. What is the average price of gasoline in the United States today, right now, today? Today being 12th of March. You got to make sure AI gets the idea very clear what you're looking for. $3.60. No, wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. It's saying mid-grade. Okay, that's the cheap stuff is $3.59. Mid-grade is $4.10 a gallon. Premium is $4.47. Diesel is $4.86. So if we just doubled it at $7 for the cheap stuff and roughly $10 on the diesel, it would be low. I would say you should come in at about $8 or $9. I'd say $8 to $9 on the cheaper stuff, and on the diesel, $12, $14, something like that. Are people going to be able to handle that? In the short run, yes. Short run, a month or so. But then they're going to want to get rid of their cars, which are pickup trucks and SUVs. But the problem they're going to have there is how do you get rid of it when you're upside down in debt with the loans? If you bought a pickup for, let's say, $43,000, not an overly loaded up pickup, an F-150, plain vanilla, but enough amenities to be comfortable, okay. So you got something like, I think 45,000 would do it. And let's say you put down $1,500, you got a payment and you owe maybe $29,000 on it, but you're not gonna. Nobody's gonna buy it for $29,000. They're gonna buy it for 10,000. People are gonna sit there and they're gonna say, "I want to get a new car. It's better for me to buy a new car that uses a lot of gas because I don't put that many miles on the car. I got a short trip to work. I go 6-7 miles to work and back, and the supermarket's 2 miles, and I don't need much." So for them, if they can buy a car that was $29,000 for even $14,000, save half, all of a sudden it's worth half what it was. It's a good deal for them. They get a nice car and they just use it comfortably, and they don't put a lot of miles on the car, so the gas isn't a big feature. So they would be better off buying it that way than they would spending $29,000 for it with $3 gasoline. You understand? But there's a very small amount of people that are going to do that. A lot of people are going to want to get Teslas or electric cars, so they don't have to go to the gas station. Some of the tricks of America you're too young to know is back around 1979, 80. What they did, was you could only get gasoline certain days of the week. If your license plate ended in an even number, you could get it on Monday. If it was an odd number, you had to go Tuesday, and they rotated like that. So you couldn't go every day to get gas. Okay. Did that accomplish much? No, it got people to drive less. And if you had to go to work at business, which I did at that time, you had to balance your gas, make sure you had gas. So if you had to work the next day and run around, you didn't have to worry too much. Now, diesel was $1 and gas was about 80 cents back then. So we weren't worried about how much the gas cost. We really didn't care, okay? I was perturbed that they raised diesel to be more money than regular gas because a lot of people had been buying diesel cars and they didn't like that. Diesel cars have lower maintenance, okay? So they didn't like that, all right? So they made us suffer with they're all crooks, okay? They're all crooks. Everything in every country in the world is rigged and crooked. Okay, by the Satan bots. They're all rotten. They're no good. They're rotten. Okay. The only way you're going to have a righteous world is to get rid of them. And that's what Jehovah's going to do. They're going to be gone soon. Yeah, the ones sitting here listening to me, I promise you'll be gone soon. Cut off. And you're going to be in the pit. And you're going to be waiting to go to the judgment. And then when you go to the judgment, you're not going to be able to play any games there. And then you're going to be thrown in the lake of fire. And you're going to be there not 100 years, not 1,000,000 years, not 1 billion, not 1 trillion, not 1 quadrillion. You're going to be there for an infinite period of time that never ends. There's no end to it. Heaven doesn't burn out and stop. It's just going to be trillions and trillions and trillions of years you're going to be suffering because you tried to play games with God and God's people. Okay? You punish us every chance you get. Discriminate against us every chance you get. You pass laws against discrimination and then you discriminate. You're just crooked as a dog's hind leg. No offense, dogs. and you're just rotten to the core, but you can still repent, but you don't want to because you love the wicked and the evil ways. You love it. But now it's catching up with you. It's not the same as it was in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000 years. It's not the same. It's very different now. And it's going to be worse. Those of you that survive are going to be like slaves. You deserve everything you get because you're so stinking wicked. And we know what you do. You set up false churches and you tell the people that there's some Satan bot in the church is your friend, is your pastor. That's how rotten you are. That's what a little fear, how little or no fear of God you have. You mock God, and now he's going to come back at you, and you're going to be paralyzed with fear when Yeshua and him appear in the clouds. You're going to be, remember that, you will be paralyzed with fear. You won't know what to do. Okay, and everything changes, and you got rottenness for infinity, no time limit. And you never had it good anyway. You don't even know what good is. You don't know what good is. When you see the everlasting life, you're going to get green with envy. You're, if you're even here to see it, I don't know how many of you would be. The pit is uncomfortable. Okay, this guy that went to the pit in the parable, the story Yeshua tells, he said, Father Abraham, send this guy over here to dip his finger in water and put it on my tongue because it's so hot and dry. Okay, that's part of it. It doesn't tell you you're going to be naked there. It's a shameful place because you're shameful people. You're shameful people, and you're going to be shamed. And you don't quit. Nobody can talk to you. You know more than everybody. You're so smart because you keep these secrets and, the eye contact crap and the curses and the evil eye. I mean, guys, you're just laughable at what you chase after. You don't understand this place that you're going to miss so much when you're in the pit and then the lake of fire is crap compared to heaven. Now, it's going to get a lot better when New Jerusalem comes here. That'll be a lot better. But this, what we see now with your phony God running all the countries of the world, this is a garbage place. It's junk. People don't have water. They don't have food. There's no money in the world. They're pieces of paper. Wars, discrimination, hatred, every sin you could think of. This is not a nice place that you love so much. It's a crap hole. It's going to get a lot better when Israel becomes the head of the nations, when Israel's, redeemed and restored to Jehovah. But it's never going to be like heaven. That's where we wind up. And you wind up in the lake of fire, which is worse than the earth is on its worst day. I think that's how I view it. You're going to be miserable. And you don't want God. God's not going to be there. There's no signs or evidence of God. And you don't want the light. It's going to be dark. There's no dying anymore. That's the second death. You already died. You ain't dying again. That's it. You're just stuck there forever. Forever. And you don't even understand forever. And all these great people in the world, like Andrew Carnegie, George Washington, Ben Franklin, all these idiots, they're going to be there with you. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices. We know all about what you do. Okay? Don't you think that is the beginning of the end? You're too dumb, maybe, huh? Or you're too silly and you're just trying to clutch or cling to something that's not real just because you can't handle what's about to happen to you. And you're in a trap. You're afraid of Satan and the demons, and you won't go to him. You don't need to go to him. You won't go to God. And, you think something bad's going to happen to you if you do it, and you're suffering. But what you're suffering now is going to be nothing like what you're going to be suffering. I think you're beyond help. I don't think you're able to get out of this. You love evil so much that you're just you're in your coffin spiritually, and it's being nailed shut, and a lot of the nails are in place already, and you're just about to get buried alive, which is about what the lake of fire is going to be. Is going to be a misery that never stops. The pit will be that way too. But you're so dumb. You don't get it. You just don't get it. So Netanyahu's latest plan is to turn South Lebanon into a Gaza, which is not going to work. See, the South Lebanon story is the Litani River, which is what the UN decision is based on. It's 17 to 18 miles north of the border of Israel. And everything between Litani River and the border of Israel should have no Hezbollah in it. So the only way we figure that's going to come to pass is to have no structures and buildings in there, because every time we let up, Hezbollah moves back in. So we get rid of it. Does that stop the missiles? No. No. If you go 100 miles up, you're going to stop a lot of it. 150 miles, I think you'll stop 90%, 98% of it. But how are we going to destroy Lebanon for 150 miles? Well, let's see what the Lord does. Okay? Lebanon, open up your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. He may burn the place up. The two witnesses may burn the place up. Okay? But the Litani River area isn't going to accomplish a whole lot. In the old days, when they made that ruling, they were using Katyusha rockets, which had a maximum range of 18 miles. So it shut it down when you did that. But even 25 miles wouldn't do it. In 2006, Netanyahu put a 25-mile buffer zone on the situation, and back then that worked. But you wouldn't get anywhere today till you had about 150, 180-mile buffer zone. And you can't. That's like practically going up to Turkey. So we're not going to get there. So something bad will happen to the Lebanese people. The CIA Director of America said the Operation Epic Fury is far along. We've had enormous success. Well, they're still launching missiles, aren't they? And they're still keeping the Persian Gulf closed, but they did have a tremendous degree of success. We can now fly at will with our non-stealth aircraft, with our B-52 fighter bombers. Yes, it's true. We're parked on top of the launch sites, as you would imagine, going after them. So they're flying around over where the launch sites are, and when they get a launch up, they'll attack. They try to get the openings to not open anymore, which is, really that's what's involved with this. There's not much more I could tell you. it's a hard situation. It's a very hard situation. Because of the threat from the sleeper agents, Trump has brought back the sky marshals. And they're being put on flights. I keep reading that they're armed. I don't know. Maybe they put them on in an unarmed condition. I know Romania used to, this going back quite a few years, this is more than 20 years ago, would keep them unarmed on the plane. They gave them some sort of a collapsible baton that they taught them how to fight with. So they got guys that were proficient with fighting, and they put them on as sky marshals, assumption that nobody has a gun on the plane. And they, at some point, may have been afraid that some guy with 10 years of martial arts would get on a plane as a terrorist and take the gun away from the sky marshal if he figured out who they were. Really not highly likely. Sky marshals are on the plane undercover. When I was a kid, I briefly worked as one, extreme brief. It was a weird freaking program. It ran through the customs service, and I'm sure they've changed it a lot. They were calling us security officers, and they didn't want us carrying our gun off duty. They wanted us to carry the gun from the airport to the house, and from the house to the airport, and then leave the gun. And you had a badge, you had an ID card like a detective, and then you had a set of double credentials like an FBI agent. So if you wanted to carry the gun, no cop would bother you, you know. But it's a lousy job. You're in airports, you're in strange hotels. You don't want to get very friendly with the stewardesses. I mean, you know, you could sit there as a single guy and sit there and think, well, here they are right next to me and this and that. Most of the stewardesses are not very interested in sky marshals. They'll be friendly to you, but they're not that interested. And they can sometimes, maybe, you know, I don't know, but they dress up, they might dress up like a mullah, a priest, dress up like a businessman. That's hard because they're not going to have the money to buy expensive suits and jewelry. So that's a hard one they're not going to go for. There are different things. So they make a cover story and they tell the stewardesses what their cover story is going to be. And it's overly simplistic. And they sit in strategic, there's several on a plane. One doesn't cut it. You definitely need a coach. You need it in a first class, and then you'll need in business class, and you're going to need at least two in coach, one towards the front, one towards the rear, maybe in the middle. So you got to put a few. To do it right when you're on a plane with 250, 300 people, you got to have at least three, I would say. And that's minimal coverage. Now, when I was there, we were using revolvers, and they had a bullet that was weird. The shell casing came right to the tip of the shell casing. It was a soft lead bullet. It was heavy, and it went at a low speed, around 750 feet per second, 800 maybe, something like that. And we were able to use a 4-inch or a 2-inch revolver, depending what you qualified on. They had, it was like a Chief Special or Smith and Wesson. Some might have had Colts. It's the same thing, basically. The Colt, the 2-inch, has 6 shots, where The Smith & Wesson had 5. That's your difference. The 4-inch, it was always 6 shots. They had, different things. They had air weights like the Colt Agent, the Colt, they're different things. It's so many years ago. It's like over 50 years ago. I can't remember everything. And there was a scare from the Goldfinger movie. I'm not kidding about this. When James Bond, or no, I think Goldfinger fired a bullet, or James Bond did, and broke a window on his private jet, and the hole in the window sucked Goldfinger out into the atmosphere, and that never happens. It never happens. So you have a hole in the window. That's all. So we made these bullets. They did. They made these bullets that would be very low in penetration. They were soft lead, so they would open, so they would make a wide, maybe you would get 0.65 of an inch to 0.75 of an inch from a 0.38 of an inch start. And it would be low speed, so it wouldn't go in the person and go out of the person. Okay. If you use like a New York City Police 38 special from the old days, which New York City used those things for a good 50, 60 years, 70 years, a long time, 38 special, you were shooting 158 grain lead ball at about 850 feet per second, and it would go through people. It would overpenetrate. Yet it would bounce off of car windshields. It was a good round and not such a good round. It was accurate as all get up. It had a rather low recoil. The 357 was by far a much, much, much better gun. They came out with those in 1957, but they were very rare and scarce. And then during the Vietnam years, they were hard as all get up to get your hands on, because the soldiers were getting priority treatment to take those to Vietnam. But they were pretty good, but they had a lot of recoil. Police were able to get them. The department was. Being a cop, when I was a cop, I went to a gun store, and I wanted to buy one, and the only thing the guy had was a 4-inch or a 5-inch barrel, and I tried concealing it, and I gave up. I didn't want it. I wanted to get a Model 19, which was about a 2.5-inch, 6-shot, great gun. But they were hard as all get up to get during the Vietnam War. They were very difficult to get. So I couldn't get one. And I had a badge and ID and everything, and I couldn't get one from the gun guy. He couldn't get them. So you're on a plane, and you're sitting on planes all the time. That stinks. You're breathing lousy air. Now if you're in first class, you might have a little better ride. In first class, the air is much better than coach, so you don't get the fatigue. And in business, it's not as good as first class, but way better than coach. Coach, you don't get a lot of good air. So if you really wanted to eliminate jet lag a lot, get yourself a tank of oxygen and bring it on the plane with you. And, if it's a 5-hour flight, that's going to be a really big tank. But if you put it on every 45 minutes or every hour for 5 minutes, it would make a big difference, I think. I never tried it, I think. But anyway, so you're on these stinking planes all the time. And then when you're not on the plane, you're in the airport. You got to get there early. You can't. If the flight leaves at 2 o'clock, you're not showing up at 1 o'clock. You're going to get there about 10, 11 in the morning. You got stuff you got to do. You got paperwork. You got to tell the crew what your cover story is, make sure they know what it is so they don't trip it up. You got to coordinate with the other sky marshals. It would be possible that you would be the only sky marshal if you were on a flight. That might happen, but that's dangerous, because what do? Now, back then, the position of the service was if a guy, a terrorist, holds a stewardess with a gun to his head, and you got 350 people or whatever it is on a 747, um, rather than lose all 300, I mean, and they never came right out and said it, but shoot the stewardess, and when she falls down, shoot the terrorist. I mean, you could have got away with that if you wanted to do that. Anything and everything was allowed if people were going to take 350 Americans and kidnap them someplace. They didn't care what you did, really. Um, you had extra ammo, but you didn't have a lot, and you had to conceal your weapon. You couldn't just use a rig like a detective. You'd have different ways of concealing it. You can get a clip and put it in inside the waist and cover it with a jacket or something. You could have long baggy pants and keep it in an ankle holster, because then all you got to do to get quick draw your gun is cross your leg, and you like that, you got your gun. So you could do that. Bringing two guns was not real popular. I don't think they wanted you doing that. Maybe you could get away with it, but if they caught you, you'd probably get, you know, they'd make sure you never did that again. And if you did it again, they'd throw you out, or they might throw you out anyway. Then when you got to the foreign country, you had issues with the gun, depending on what country you were in. You got no diplomatic passport. They give you an official U.S. passport, so you're like an employee passport. Um, and that gives you some latitude with the authorities depending where the heck you are. Okay, so you actually have two passports. You have a regular blue passport, and you have your official U.S. government passport that you're not going to flash, but you're going to use that one. Once you get off the plane, your cover's finished, and you're going to disappear. You're going to go in a different way than the passengers do, and you know you may or may not have carry on. It depends. Normally, you won't. Yeah, you won't have checked luggage. You'll just have your carry on, and like a stewardess, and you just disappear out of the air. You go in different doors. You got paperwork, and you get out of there. Uh, can you get access into the first class lounges and stuff? If there was a reason for it, yeah. But what would your reason be? Nobody's going to hijack the lounge, so it wouldn't really be in there. Um, Back then, they had no bulletproof doors for the pilot's cabin where they fly the plane from. Now they got bulletproof doors that you can't kick down. They're very secure. You could kick it and kick it and kick it, it ain't coming down. And you could shoot it unless you have, like, a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum or something like that, or a 460. It ain't going to go through. And they don't seem to ever hijack with rifles. That's pretty hard to do. Um, so they started the Sky Marshals up again. I don't know if they ever really stopped. I know years ago, I don't keep up with this stuff. I know, 10, 12 years ago, they had uh, Sky Marshals, which had full police powers. They had a badge, a gold badge. They had the credentials. They carried guns. They had powers 24/7, like an FBI guy or something. And maybe they eliminated those over the years. I never paid attention to it. They were, I forget which agency they were out of, but they were around for a long time. But it wasn't considered good work. I mean, yeah, you get to see the world. What does that mean? Well, let's say you're taking flights from Atlanta to Paris, okay? So you're going back and forth to Paris. So, yeah, after 2 or 3 months, you're sick of Paris. You've done and seen everything a tourist is going to do in Paris. But you're not going to, let's say what you might have got on a lot easier is a plane to Egypt or, maybe the Kennedy to Cairo, or you were on Kennedy to Jordan, or, a place like that. So what the heck are you going to do in a Muslim country when you're there? You normally now you might land and then turn around and come right back, or you might land and take 1 or 2 days off. So what do you do for a day or two in Jordan or Egypt? What the heck are you going to do? What are you going to do there? Sleep, eat. What's wrong with eating there? You got to be real careful you don't get Montezuma's revenge in these places. You ever think of that? You got to be really careful. Like, what do I mean? I mean, have you ever brushed your teeth with 7-Up soda? I have. That's what I mean. And when you go in the shower and you want to wash yourself up, you think about putting duct tape over your mouth. You don't do it, but you think about it. You don't want to have any water get in your mouth. Not a good job. Okay, it sounds like a great job. And, did they ever really stop any real hijackers? Probably not, or maybe once or twice or something. What were most of the arrests of all the years they did this was drunks, itinerant people, stubborn people, nasty people that were giving the stewardesses a hard time and bothering other people on the flight. That's what they spent most of their time doing. That was it. That was it. Because they got the check-in procedures down really good. So people don't get weapons on planes. I don't know what they do now for steak knives, but going back 40, 50 years ago, they had real steak knives in first class, even in the 90s, and you could cut your steak, and that was a weapon. But I don't know what they do now. Maybe they just give you a steak knife that has some serrations on it, but it's a round one and has no tip, so you can't do much damage with it, So they got very good at it, and that's probably why it ended. I think they realized that if you give the crew a revolver, which happened, the crews were carrying revolvers. I don't know if that still continues, probably. And they put the bulletproof doors for the pilot's cabin over there where they fly the plane from. And then if somebody managed to get in, they do have a gun. So they would not easily be able to hijack the plane, but they could, because they could just tell the pilot they're going to start executing the people on the plane every 5 minutes until he opens up the door and lets them take over or something like that, And the pilots may refuse, and then what happens? They start shooting the people. Who the heck knows? But, I was surprised to hear them resuming this because I didn't know it ever stopped. But they're very worried about the sleeper agents. So you better believe the sleeper agent story is true. The Army is offering $5,000 for information after 4 drones were stolen from Fort Campbell. That's the American Army. Somebody stole 4 drones. Now, do you think that maybe some terrorists from Iran or another country paid the soldiers, $100,000 or $200,000 or $1 million to steal 4 drones because they have trouble getting drones in the country. Yeah, it's very likely. Very likely. So that's another bad sign. So your sleeper agents kids are real. And Iran's going to throw them at you because they're getting desperate. I'm going to take a break for a minute. I'll be right back. So when you're talking sleeper agents, what they're going to do is they're going to start most likely with government targets. They're not going to hit schools and hospitals and stuff at onset. I doubt that. That's not the pattern. They normally don't do that. They're going to hit government, the federal government, military, police, stuff like that. And then see how it goes from there. So I'll keep you guys updated, and I'll pray for everyone, and we'll go from there. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers and their households that we would have your strength, your stamina, your endurance from you, and we would have your healing and recuperative power flow through us, that we wouldn't get sick or hurt, and your healing power would keep working through us and heal things that need healing. And I pray for us and our animals and pets that we would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. I pray that if we need work, we find it, a job. If we need, I pray that we have adequate amounts of money and then some extra. And I pray that we would if we need clients or customers for our business, we would have that too. I pray we don't get gypped, cheated, robbed, scammed, frauded, assaulted, ripped off, robbed, or anything. I pray we have no accidents of any sort, and I pray that we would know the scriptures better, and that I pray I would be able to do better videos. And I pray our spiritual warfare tactics and techniques would improve. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that if you're a believer. Now I'll do the spiritual warfare for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in our households. I actually don't pray. I loose from all of us any witchcraft, sorcery, or unclean spirits out of us, loose out of us, anything like this, that it's null and void, of no value, no effect, and never returns, the unclean spirit or witchcraft or sorcery. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay? And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And that's it. So I think it's important that we cover all this stuff with the war so you could see what's going on, which is many nations are already getting some level of involvement in this war, and more will likely come. And now it's going to be escalating to America, on the shores of America. It looks that way. It may not be that way, but it looks that way now. And that leads to, I told you, one of us heard from the Lord rather clearly that the destruction of the daughter of Babylon began, and that's probably about 3 months ago now, roughly. And this sign of the drones and that's and sleeper agents, that's it. So Trump is being used to destroy Iran, and then his time comes. He's got a real big head now, doesn't he? So when that happens, that means, like I said, we're close to redemption. Okay, close to redemption, but it's going to take time to destroy America. The destroyers get to loot America as their reward, and that's going to have to take some time. So it starts in Revelation 18 with the attack on Washington, D.C., and that happens in a moment. Suddenly, it's, of course, they're unaware. And we'll have to watch and see what happens. Okay? So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out. I hope you got something out of this. And be careful, the sleeper agents, probably 80-90% chance are going to start working against the federal national government of America. Okay, military and defense and different sites, but now we're hearing they may just turn drones loose in California, but I'm pretty sure they're going to go for military structures in California, federal buildings, federal courthouses, maybe, things like that. Okay, now I could be wrong. Maybe they won't, but normally that's the target, is the national government. Okay, kids, I'm out.